Good morning, class. Hope you're having a great day. Today we're going to start off talking about scatter plots. Well, what are scatter plots? Um, we're going to get to look at them today. They're just like a normal graph. Remember when we would graph lines, and we also talked about graphing functions? And then we would connect the points. But with scatter plots, we don't connect the points. So go ahead and pull out your notebook if you haven't already, and make sure you write down these key definitions. Okay, so the first thing is, what is a scatter plot? And I would say scatter plots are just plotting data as points on an x and y Cartesian graph, and they don't necessarily line up. In other words, they're not all connected. This is what's called, if you want to use a fancy word, this is called discrete. You're jumping from one point to the next, and it's not all the points in between. Rather than doing something that's continuous, it's choppy, it's discrete. Okay, so this is an example of a scatter plot. Now, how do you graph a scatter plot? You're going to look at your x and y ordered pairs. See, look at this point right here. If we look at this point that's up here, it looks like it's a little over 700, like about 800. And it is right before the 100 mark down here. So we're having some data points where, let's say, it looks like it's about 90 is the first part of the information. And the second part of the information is going to be somewhere around 800. So this is run. This is your x value. And it looks like it ran about to there. And then this is 800, which is your y, and that's your rise. So you run about there, and then you go all the way up to there. So that's what you're going to do. Usually the information, your x and y's, are not given as ordered pairs. Usually it's given by a set of data. So let's say we're looking at temperatures for the week. Sunday, it was 37 degrees. Monday, 35. I'm making this up. This is in La La Land. Okay, not here. And then Tuesday, it was 32 degrees. And in La La Land on Wednesday, it was 40 degrees. And let's give one more point. Let's say let's see, Sunday, Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday. Let's say on Thursday, it was let's say it was 30 degrees. Oh yeah, everybody was happy then. Okay, so if you look, we could plot these points by using on an x and y scale. And of course, I'm just going to do the first quadrant because we don't have any negative temperatures here, and we certainly don't have any negative days. So down here is going to be the day. That's your x's. And your order of days are going to go this way. And then up here is your temperature. I'm just going to put T for temperature. And that's like your y's. And that's going to be increasing, going up that way. So if we were going to look at these days, we would have to give them a number, right? So Sunday, we could call that 1. We could say that's the first day. Monday is 2. It's the second day. Tuesday is 3. Wednesday is 4. Yom Arba. And then Thursday is 5. Okay, so if we look at the trend, Sunday, that would be like 1 for the day, and we would plot it all the way up here at 37. And then Monday, the second day, it would be a little bit lower at 35. But notice we're only doing one temperature per day. So that's why it's a scatter plot. It's not like a graph that is continuous. And then if Tuesday, 32, let's say we're just plotting the highs. That's a little bit lower. Okay. Then Wednesday was 40. Whoa, that's up to here. It's higher than Sunday. And then Thursday is down here at 3 degrees. Now, if you look, they're not exactly lined up, but in general, it's kind of like it's decreasing like a line. You could almost create a line. And we're going to talk about that later this week. That's called the best fit line. If I could kind of draw a line and most of the points are close to it, that kind of gives me my general direction. And we can see that it's decreasing. The slope of these data points of this scatter plot is negative. The slope is decreasing, it's going down, so it's negative. But we have this one point up here that's different than the rest. That is called an outlier. So there are two important things you have to remember with scatter plots. One is you're going to look at the general pattern, and that's called the correlation. So if you're taking notes, write this down. Number C is correlation. That's the general shape or trend of the points. So is the general trend, are they increasing? Are they decreasing like in this graph? And in this graph, they're also decreasing. Is it zero? That means it's not increasing or decreasing. That would be like a horizontal line. Or is there no correlation? Sometimes you get scatter plots where the data is just points are all over the place and there's no trend, there's no correlation. So one of these four. So if you look at this example we had, it's definitely a negative shape. It definitely has a negative correlation. And then you have one point that's outside of the rest. That's called the outlier. That point is furthest away. It's kind of not in line. It's not close to the trend. This is also your outlier on the example I gave earlier. So that's our last definition for part C. Sorry, part D is outlier. Okay, so let's do just a quick review. So scatter plot. What is a scatter plot? A scatter plot are a bunch of points that are graphed from a collection of data, as my daughter says. And in graphing a scatter plot, how do you graph a scatter plot? You take your information and you make a set of X, Y ordered pairs. Third, correlation. What does correlation mean? After you graphed all your points, you see, is it a negative slope? Is it a positive slope? Is there no slope? Does it stay steady? Or is there no correlation at all? Are the points all over the place? You're looking for the general trend. And then finally, outlier. If there is a general trend, is there a data point or two or three that fall way outside of that? And that normally happens. Those are called outliers. Okay, so let's just really quickly look at the information I gave you today. This is your worksheet for today. So let's look at problem number 1. Giving x's and y's doesn't really tell you what they are. Let's pretend that x's are how many. Let's say x represents how many phone calls a telemarketer makes for his company, and y represents uh, how much money they were able to earn. So x and y. So, but it can represent anything really. X could represent how many. It can represent like how much money you invested and how much money you get out. X can represent what time you open up in a store and how many items are bought. It can represent anything. So 80 is going to be somewhere around here because that's 100. So 80 is going to be like right about here. And then 780. So this is 600, 650, 700, 750. So it'd be right about here. So we'd plot that point. Okay, so we got that one plotted. 280, so 280 is going to be right about here because that's 300. And then 450. 450 is going to be 470, I'm sorry. It's going to be like right here in between 500 and 450. Okay, that's our next point. 700 and 130. So we have 700 and then 130. Whoa, that's a lot lower, isn't it? Okay. 990, which is here. And it's going to be here actually. And 170. So that's going to be right about there. Okay. And now, look, you notice they're not in order, and that's okay. That's part of the reason why you want to plot things for a scatter plot, is to kind of help put them in order. So 700 is back over here. And again, it's 130. Okay, well, we've already plotted that one, so we don't have to plot it again. And then 410 should be right about here, a little bit past 400. And then 310, a little bit above 300. Okay, now look at that. Look at these points. What kind of correlation does this have? It has a negative correlation. You can see it's decreasing. If I was to draw a line, it would look like this, and that's where most of the points would hit. Is there an outlier? Yes, there is. There's an outlier over here. Okay, is this a negative correlation or a positive correlation? This is a negative. So I'm just going to put NEG for negative. Or if you wanted to put a negative sign, that's fine as well. Okay, so I'm going to just quickly scroll down to the answers. Whoops. If you look at number 1, see if that's what we got. I think you'll find this graph will look familiar. Okay. Number 1, yes, there's a negative correlation, and it looked kind of like this with that little outlier there. Now I wanted to show you guys an example of no correlation. When you plot number 6, you'll see that it has no correlation. It's just all over the place. And hope you have a great day. Bye.